Highest carbohydrate is bread, sugar, rice. Our ancestors were hunter and gatherer and ate almost all unrefined food. But now most of processing was from cooking. Today we eat mostly refined food that have been heavily processed and contain added refined sugar. Refined sugar are chemically identical to natural sugar but do not contain the fiber, vitamins, mineral, and phytochemicals like white sugar and syrup. Whole grain has three parts. The endosperm. Endosperm is the largest part of kernel. It is made up primarily starch but also contains most of kernel protein along with some vitamins and mineral. Endosperm, some vitamins and mineral. Endosperm is the largest part of kernel. Brown layer. Brown layer is the brown outermost layer, contain most of fiber and a good source of many vitamins and mineral. Brown, good source of many vitamins and minerals. Germ, located at the base of kernel. Germ located at the base of kernel. Germ located at the base of kernel is the embryo where sprouting occurs. It is source of oil and rich in vitamin E. Germ located at the base of kernel is the embryo where sprouting occurs. It is a source of oil and is rich in vitamin E. Enrichment. Enrichment, since vitamins, minerals, and fiber were lost during processing with the removal of germ and bran, the U.S. government requires that some of those lost nutrients be added back. Empty calories. Empty calories. Number 1, refined sugar contain calories but lack fiber and other nutrients. Number 2, sugar from whole foods such as fruits and vegetables are more nutrients dense. Empty calories. Energy, very few, no additional calories. Energy, very no additional calories. Empty calories. Refined sugar contain calories but lack fiber and other nutrients. Sugar from whole food such as fruit and vegetable are more nutrients dense. Carbohydrates contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The carbohydrate family is broken up into simple carbohydrates. Number 2 is complex carbohydrates. The carbohydrates family is broken up into simple carbohydrates. Number 2 is complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates. Monosaccharide, single sugar. Disaccharide, 2 sugar. Glucose, blood sugar also found in dextrose solution. Glucose, blood sugar also found in dextrose solution. Fructose, the sweet sugar, occur naturally in fruit and honey. Fructose occurs naturally fruit and honey. Galactose. Galactose, found only in the few foods. Milk is the most common. Galactose milk is the most common. 1 unit of sugar contain 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, and 6 oxygen molecules. Unit sugar contain 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, 6 oxygen molecules. Disaccharides made up 2 to 3 monosaccharide. Disaccharide made up 2 of pairs of 2 to 3 monosaccharide. Maltose. Glucose plus glucose found in barley. Maltose, glucose plus glucose. Sucrose, fructose plus glucose found in fruits, vegetable, grains, table sugar. Sucrose equals fructose plus glucose. Lactose. Lactose equals galactose plus glucose. Main carbohydrate in milk. Lactose. Lactose equals galactose plus glucose. Glucose is called blood sugar. Glucose is called blood sugar. Fructose found in fruit, vegetable. Fructose found fruit and vegetable. Sugar found in milk. Sugar found in milk. Galactose sugar found in milk. Galactose found in milk. Maltose, made of 2 glucose unit, is formed when starch is digested. Sucrose, the disaccharide made by linking glucose to fructose, is a table sugar. Lactose, made of glucose linked to galactose, is produced by human and other mammals. Starch, the storage form of glucose in plants. Starch, the storage form of glucose in plant. Starch, glucose in plant. Fiber, cellulose, structural part of plants found in plant-derived food, fruits, vegetable, grain, and legumes. Fiber, derived food from fruits, vegetable, grain, and legumes. Soluble, dissolve in water or absorb water, form gels, and easily digested by bacteria in the colon. Fermented. Number 1, food source include barley, oats, legumes, citrus fruit. Number 2, they help protect against heart disease by lowering blood cholesterol. Number 3, protect against diabetes by lowering blood glucose level. Insoluble, does not dissolve in water, does not form gel, less readily fermented, add bulk to fecal matter. Number 1, food source include whole grains, bran, vegetable. Number 2, promote bowel movement and alleviate constipation. Carbohydrates digestion. Number 1. In the mouth, the enzyme salivary amylase start into shorter polysaccharide. Next, number 2, in the stomach, salivary amylase is inactivated by acid, so no carbohydrate digestion occur. Number 3, in the small intestine, pancreatic amylase complete the job of breaking down starch into disaccharide and polysaccharide. And number 4, at the villi of small intestine, enzyme attached to microvilli complete digestion of disaccharide into monosaccharide. Number 5, in the large intestine, fiber is partially broken down by bacteria to form short-chain fatty acid and gas. The remaining fiber excreted in the feces. In the small intestine, maltase break maltose into 2 glucose molecule. Maltase 2 glucose molecule. Sucrase break sucrose into 1 fructose and 1 glucose molecule. Sucrase 1 fructose and 1 glucose molecule. Lactase 1 galactose and 1 glucose molecule. Lactase break lactose into 1 galactose and 1 glucose molecule. At this point, of polysaccharide have been broken down to single sugar, monosaccharide. Polysaccharide, 3 or more sugar. Polysaccharide, many monosaccharide linked together. Glycogen. Glycogen, the storage form of glucose in animal, including human. Number 1, it is many glucose molecules linked together in highly branched chain. Number 2, this arrangement allows for rapid hydrolysis. Number 3, enzyme attack that branches making a source of glucose available. Glycogen is stored in muscle in liver. Glycogen is stored in the muscle and the liver. Lactose intolerance. Number 1, low level of small intestine enzyme lactase. Number 2, the disaccharide lactose cannot be broken down into monosaccharide. Number 3, lactose passes into large intestine where it is digested by bacteria. Symptoms of lactose tolerance. Symptom is gas, abdominal distension, cramping, diarrhea. Since dairy is not well tolerated, should obtain calcium from tofu, legumes, dark green vegetable, canned salmon, and sardines. Calcium fortified foods. Calcium supplement, lactase treated milk or take lactase tablet with or before consuming milk product. Fiber not broken down by human enzyme. Fiber not broken down by human enzyme. Oligosaccharide. Oligosaccharide, 3 to 10 sugar units. Some are not broken down by human enzyme. Oligosaccharide, not broken down by human enzyme. Resistant starch. Resistant start, natural structure of the plant, protect the start molecule or cooking and processing, alter digestibility. Resistant starts, start molecule or cooking and processing, alter digestibility. Example, legumes, unripe banana, and cold cooked potatoes, rice and pasta. Absorption of monosaccharide. Number 1, monosaccharide, the end product of carbohydrates digestion, enter the capillaries of the intestinal villi. Number 2, monosaccharide travel to the liver by the portal vein. Number 2, monosaccharide travel to the liver vein, the portal vein. Number 3, number 3, in the liver, galactose and fructose are converted to glucose. Glycemic index. Number 1, ranking of how a food affects blood glucose relative to an equivalent amount of carbohydrates from a reference food, such as white bread or pure glucose. Example, white bread equals 100, kidney beans equals 25. Glycemic load. Glycemic load compared the effect of typical portion of food on blood glucose. Glycemic load compared the effect of typical portion of food and blood glucose. Glycemic response. Glycemic response measure how quickly and how high blood glucose level rise after carbohydrate consumption. Glycemic index. Ranking of how a food affects blood glucose relative to an equivalent amount of carbohydrates from a reference food, such as white bread or pure glucose. Example, white bread 100 and kidney beans 25%. Glycemic load. Glycemic load compare the effect of typical portion of food on blood glucose. Glycemic load, portion of food on blood glucose. Glycemic response. Glycemic response measure how quickly and how high blood glucose level rise after carbohydrate consumption. Glycemic response. High blood glucose level rise after carbohydrate consumption. Carbohydrates function. Part 2 of carbohydrates function. Main function of carbohydrates is energy. Main function of carbohydrates is energy. Breastfeeding woman, galactose combine glucose and lactose. Breastfeeding woman, galactose combine glucose and lactose. Galactose need nerve tissue. Structure in RNA and DNA combine to form B vitamins. Receptor on cell membrane, cushioning and lubrication. Carbohydrate function. Main energy. 2. Structure in RNA and DNA combine to form B vitamins. Next is receptor on cell membrane. Next is cushioning and lubrication. Maintaining blood glucose. Maintaining blood glucose. Fasting blood glucose 70 to 100 mg NDL. Regulated by two hormones. Insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon. Anaerobic, absent of oxygen. Aerobic, with oxygen. Anaerobic, absent of oxygen. Aerobic, with oxygen. Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. Number 1, glycosyl. Glycosyl which take place into cytosol, split glucose, a 6-carbon molecule into 2,3-carbon molecule. Pyruvate. This step release high energy electron, purple balls, and produce a small amount of ATP. Pyruvate is either broken down to produce more ATP or is used to remake glucose. Number 2, pyruvate can be used to produce more ATP when oxygen is available. In the mitochondrion, pyruvate is broken down releasing carbon dioxide and high energy electron and forming acetyl-CoA 2-carbon, which continues through aerobic metabolism. Number 3, acetyl-CoA entered the citric acid cycle where CO2 and high energy electrons are released and where a small amount of ATP is produced. Next is number 4. Most ATP is produced in final step of aerobic metabolism. Here the energy in high energy electron released in previous step is transferred to ATP and the electron are combined with oxygen and hydrogen to form water. Ketones or ketone bodies. Ketone bodies, acidic molecules produced by fat breakdown when carbohydrates are not available to cell. Ketone bodies or ketone breakdown when carbohydrates are not available to cell. Ketones or ketone bodies, acidic molecule produced by fat breakdown when carbohydrates are not available to cell. Heart muscle and kidney use for energy. Brain adapt after 3 days to use ketone. Next is produced with starvation, low carb diet, diabetes. Ketosis, increased ketone in blood. Ketosis, increased ketone in blood. Ketosis, increased ketone in blood. Ketoacidosis, acidic blood from increased ketone. Ketoacidosis, acidic blood from increased ketone. Ketoacidosis, acidic blood from increased ketone. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus characterized by high blood glucose level. Number 2, uncontrolled diabetes damage the heart, blood vessel, kidney, eyes, and nerves. Leads to blindness, amputation, and kidney failure. Type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, autoimmune disease. Insulin-secreting cells are destroyed. 5 to 10% of all diabetes cases. Next is usually developed before age 30. Next is require insulin injection or insulin pump. Next is low insulin cause ketone formation. Blood becomes acidic. diabetic ketoacidosis, coma, or death. Type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, number 1, 90 or 95% of all diabetes cases usually begin with pre-diabetes. Number 3, usually occur in adulthood but can occur at any age. Cell lose sensitivity to insulin. Insulin resistance, body begin to make less insulin, can be treated with diet and lifestyle change. Can be treated with diet and lifestyle change. Diabetes mellitus, family history of diabetes, race or ethnicity, history of gestational diabetes, excess body fat and weight, lack of exercise, high blood pressure, abnormal blood lipids, poor diet high in refined carbohydrates. Gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes, diabetes during pregnancy. Number 2, baby is usually large for gestational age. Number 3, resolve after pregnancy. Number 4, increased risk of type 2 diabetes later in life. Diabetes mellitus symptoms. Diabetes mellitus symptom. Early symptoms of diabetes, frequent urination. Next is excessive thirst. Next is blurred vision. Next is weight loss. Long-term complication, damage of heart, blood pressure, and broken nerves. Diabetes mellitus management. Diet. To avoid rapid or prolonged rise blood glucose in diet, need to be careful plan. Exercise. Regular exercise help control blood glucose. A change in the amount of exercise may change the amount of food, medication required to keep blood glucose in the normal range. Blood glucose should be monitored regularly. It can be measured using tiny drop of blood. Insulin is required to treat type 1 diabetes. Blood glucose level in type 2 diabetes can be managed with a variety of oral medication as well insulin. Hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia, possible cause, poorly managed diabetes, too much insulin, excessive exercise, inadequate food intake, abnormalities of insulin production, abnormalities in the way the body responds to insulin. In healthy people can be treated by smaller frequent meal, more fiber-rich food, food high in simple sugar, adequate protein intake. Weight management. Weight management. With the increased popularity in low-carb diet, carbohydrates have gotten a reputation for being fattening. Number 2, the type and amount of carbohydrates consumed is what is really important. Diet high in simple carbohydrates do not provide satiety and add lot of empty calories to diet, cause a rapid rise in blood glucose and stimulate the release of insulin, which may promote fat storage. Diet high unrefined carbohydrates add bulk, slow digestion, increase the sense of fullness, and allow you to feel full with less food. Weight management. Weight management, number 1, with the increase popularity in low-carb diets, carbohydrates have gotten a reputation for being fattening. Number 2, the type and amount of carbohydrates consumed is what is really important. Diet high in simple carbohydrates. Diet high in simple carbohydrates do not provide satiety and add lot of empty calories to diet, cause rapid rise in blood glucose, and stimulate the release of insulin, which may promote fat storage. Diet high in unrefined carbohydrates at bulk slowly digestion increase the sense of fullness and allow you to feel full with less food. Heart disease. Heart disease, high sugar diet increase blood lipids. High blood glucose damage blood vessel. Soluble fiber decrease cholesterol absorption and synthesis. High fiber diet decrease blood pressure, weight, blood glucose, and heart disease. Dental cavities. Dental caries, cavities. Bacteria in amount digest carbohydrate and produce acid which damage tooth and enamel. Cause frequent snacking, consuming food that stick to the teeth, sucking hard candy, slowly sipping juice and other sugar-filled beverages. Bowel health. High fiber diet decrease. Bowel health, high fiber diet decrease. Constipation. If adequate water is consumed. Hemorrhoid. Varicose vein in the anus and rectum. Hemorrhoid. Varicose vein in anus and rectum. Diverticula. Outpouching of the large intestine. Diverticula. Outpouching of large intestine. Colon cancer. Although not all studies support this finding. Carbohydrates recommendation. Carbohydrates recommendation. Enough carbohydrates to meet glucose need. Number 2, choosing type for health and disease prevention. RDA for carbohydrates 130 a day. Acceptable macronutrient distribution range for carbohydrates 45-65 of total calorie intake. Adequate intake for fiber. Adequate intake for fiber 38 grams day for men and 25 grams day for women. 25-15-2020 dietary guidelines recommend limiting added sugar intake to less than 10% of calories for 200 calories diet. 25-15 and 2020 dietary guidelines recommend limiting added sugar intake to less than 10% of calories for 200 calories diet. 10% only for 200 calorie diet. Choosing carbohydrate wisely. Use 2015-2020 dietary guidelines and my plate. Increase whole grains, fruits and vegetable, and low-fat dairy product. Number 2 is limit food high refined grains and added sugar. Dietary guidelines specifically recommend reducing intake sugar Sweetened beverage. Dietary guidelines specifically recommend reducing intake of sugar-sweetened beverage. My plate recommend 6 ounces of grain, half should be whole grains, 2 cups of fruits, and 2.5 cups of vegetable for 200 calorie of diet. My plate recommend 6 ounces of grains, half should be whole grains, 2 cups of fruits, and 2.5 cups of vegetable for 200 calorie diet. Non-nutritive artificial sweetener. Replace added sugar in diet. Pros: decrease dental caries, control blood sugar level. Cons: associate with gain. Present in low nutrients density of food. Toxic at high doses. Cons: associate with weight gain. Present in low nutrients density food. Toxic at high doses. Saccharin. Sweetener saccharin. Brand name Sweet Low Sweeten NectaSweet. The oldest of non-nutritive sweetener developed in 1879. It was once considered a carcinogen but was taken off government list of cancer-causing substance. In 2000, it is 200 to 700 times sweetener than sucrose and has better aftertaste. Accessol fame. Brand name is Sunet or Sweet One. A heat-stable sweetener that is often used in combination with other sweetener. It is 200 times sweetener than sucrose. Sucralose, Splenda. Sucralose, brand name is Splenda, made from sucrose molecule that have been modified so that they cannot be digested or absorbed. It is heat stable, so can be used in cooking. In 600 times sweetener than sucrose. Number of tabletop sweetener packets is 60 kilograms. 132 pounds person will need consume to reach ADI. Luhango. Luhango, brand name is Monk Fruit Nectaris Purelu. Sweet sensation. What is it? A sweetener containing sriracha, gross binaural fruit extract, primarily from plant native to southern China. It is 100 to 250 times sweetener than sucrose. Made from concentrating lactose from whey in milk, glucose and galactose, and converting galactose. Sweetener stevia, steviol, glycoside. Brand name is Truvia, Purebaya, and Litten. A sweetener made from leaf of stevia plant is about 200 to 400 times sweetener than sucrose.